The plastic problem from production to the ocean. Hello everyone and welcome. Today we are going to dive into a topic that affects us all, wherever we are. The global plastic crisis. Since its invention, this material has transformed our lives. But its massive and uncontrolled use has brought us to a critical point. In this episode, we are going to break down the fascinating history of how plastic emerged, how we arrived at this serious problem, what its devastating impacts are on our planet and potentially on our health, and most importantly, what solutions exist and how we can be part of the change to ensure a cleaner future. Get ready for a journey from the laboratories of the late 19th century to the vast islands of plastic in our oceans. Let's begin. The history of plastic is, in many ways, the history of modern innovation and convenience. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, we saw the birth of the first synthetic plastics. At first, they were seen as a promising alternative to natural materials that were starting to become scarce. But it was after the Second World War that production soared, driven by the need for versatile, lightweight, and economical materials for all kinds of uses. The real explosion came in the 1950s, with the popularization of single-use plastics. Cups, plates, bags, convenience became the norm, and global production skyrocketed to exponential levels. But how did the problem get so much worse? Several factors contributed to this. On the one hand, production continued to increase dramatically, far exceeding our capacity to manage it. Much of this plastic was designed to be used just once and thrown away. Furthermore, globally, waste management has been, and in many places still is, inadequate. A lot of plastic ends up in landfills, incinerators with polluting emissions, or worse still, directly in nature. And we cannot forget about microplastics. When plastic degrades, it breaks down into tiny fragments that end up contaminating soil, water, and air, and entering the food chain. The lack of recycling infrastructure and low public awareness in many regions have only worsened the situation. The impacts of this problem are deep and felt across the planet. Marine pollution is perhaps the most visible, with millions of tons of plastic reaching our oceans each year, forming those sadly famous plastic islands and affecting marine life. Think of seabirds, turtles, fish, and marine mammals that mistake plastic for food or become entangled, suffering serious injuries or death. But the pollution is not limited to the sea. Agricultural soils, rivers, and lakes are also affected by plastics and microplastics, impacting water quality and the health of terrestrial and freshwater ecosystems. And although more research is needed, concerns are growing about the potential effects on human health due to exposure to microplastics in the water we drink, food, and air. There are even negative economic impacts on industries such as fishing, tourism, and agriculture. So what do we do? Addressing this problem requires a joint effort. There is no single magic solution, but rather a comprehensive approach. The most effective measure is, without a doubt, to drastically reduce the production and consumption of unnecessary plastics, especially single-use ones. It is also key to encourage the reuse of packaging and products. And of course, improve and expand recycling infrastructure, ensuring that the plastic we do use is recycled effectively. We need to innovate in materials, developing and promoting sustainable alternatives that are truly ecological throughout their life cycle. Product design must also change, thinking from the outset about how to facilitate their reuse and recycling. Policies and regulations play a crucial role, with bans on certain single-use plastics, ambitious recycling targets, and promoting producer responsibility. And education and awareness are fundamental to drive behavioral changes towards more responsible consumption. Finally, supporting cleanup and restoration initiatives for affected ecosystems is vital. The plastic problem is an urgent environmental challenge that requires coordinated and immediate global action. While plastic has given us a lot, it is time to rethink our relationship with it. We need to move from that take, make, dispose mentality to a circular economy where reducing, reusing, and recycling are the priorities. Only with a collective commitment can we truly mitigate the harm that plastic is causing and ensure a cleaner and healthier future for all. And now I would love to hear your opinion. What do you think is the most important solution to the plastic problem? What are you doing in your daily life to reduce your plastic footprint? Leave us your comments on YouTube. Your participation is key in this debate. Thank you for joining us. We'll hear you next time.